one night in July 1996. One night, robbers came to his shop. He was sometimes sleeping in the shop and other times he would sleep at home. So this particular time he was sleeping, he was at the shop. So these people, whether they are bandits, whether they are business libraries, we don't know. Even today, we don't know. So they came at night and actually killed him. They murdered him in cold blood. Trauma points are many in our lives. And when we start dealing with them, sometimes that is the time you realize that there are some things that you may have dealt with and others you may not have dealt with, and others you've dealt with inadequately and you need to work and deal with them. As you remember, our last episode, we were with Anne Kangara and she talked about 4 areas, 3 to 4 areas, and about how she has experienced a lot of trauma. You can go back to that episode and watch it and see those 4 traumas that we were talking about. And what is trauma? As I said earlier in my earlier episode, I said trauma is an emotional situation where you have been affected either physically, but this one now is a disturbing, distressing issue of your life. And sometimes it hinders you from progressing emotionally, functioning, in quality life, your production at workplace or at home or whatever thing that you do, you are affected by this trauma. And most of the time, that has not been addressed. I realize that in the world today, there are many things that affect us. And so long as that we are on the earth today, we keep experiencing them. We don't ask for them, but sometimes we just get ourselves into them. For example, I looked back and I saw this one that I need to share with us today. As I said in my earlier episodes again, I was brought up in a village in Nyeri County. That time we were calling them districts, but now they are Nyeri County. And I've grown up from a very humble beginning, very humble family. That and as I said, my father was, or my dad was non-resident in terms of like he would come to visit. He was not normal, not that he was a foreigner. He was still a Kenyan, but he was not staying with us. That is what I call the non-resident. And so basically what was happening is that my mom was more of a single mother as much as that there was a father in the background. So, I talked about that one in domestic violence. I don't want us to repeat on that, but I want us to look, I want to share what now happened when she is a single mother. She was only able to do so much. She was able to provide food for us. And at this time, we are 3 of us that are in primary and as we are going to get to secondary school. So basic things for school, food, clothing, shelter, and all that. As much as we had a house, we were also not having these big shambas. We were hosted in a place where they were calling it a village, Gishagi, place where those people without land, they were put together, given half an acre of land. And that is where they could build the house and have some space for cultivation of crops. And that is where I was brought up with my 3 siblings, with my 2 siblings and myself. So as we continued on, my mom realized that she did not have much to sustain these 3 kids. So she engaged herself in some small businesses, like most mothers will do. And those who are watching me, most mothers will do that. And especially when now the husband is a non-resident. So she started selling fruits and vegetables. So we would go to a near market called Karatina. That time it was a very big market. I was hearing that it was the largest in East Africa. And we would go there with her, buy mangoes, buy other fruits, and come to our village, a small village called Mungaria, and then we would be able to sell them at our shopping center. That was one way of getting some money to sustain us. The second one was us as children, I included. We would go to people's farms. And as I said, as we were having a small farm, we didn't have coffee. And that time, coffee was the in thing. It was a cash crop, and it was bringing a lot of money, even at the end of the year, where they would get bonuses. So what we would do, because we don't have money in our family, as children, on Fridays, we would go mapping or scouting for places where we have these low-lying coffee bushes and the bright red that are ready for harvesting, for picking. And then because they'll be picked on a Tuesday and a Saturday. So we'd go scouting and mapping the areas where we will go the following day. So early in the morning, we would rush there before other people come. We would go there, so those that are low-lying, we pick them in our containers, and then we had a sack. Personally, I had a sack. We would go and empty there. As other people are coming to be given lines, big lines and mini lines, probably I would be given only one because I am small and I'm not able to do many. And it has to be completed that day, and the coffee berries are taken to the factory, to the coffee factory. So we would do that. And at the end of the day, we would get some money. So our amounts would be pinward, measured, let me use that word. And then we would be paid per the amount of work that you have done. And for me, I felt that to add into this so that I can get more money, and because sometimes we were not doing it together with my siblings. They would go to a different shamba, different farm, and then I'm in this other one. And to add more so that by the end of the day, I have something to take home and to take to my mom. I would also say when other women are being given some portions to carry to the factory, because when you carry to the factory, you are also paid extra. So I would also say, I want to carry. And that time I was a small girl, 10 years and below. I'm carrying, the much that I can be able to carry. Then I would go with it to the factory. One thing that used to happen is that, yes, you've carried it and you have been added some money, but you have to stay with that kamuzigo of yours in a line, in a queue, because other people are also bringing it to the factory the same day, and you find that the factory is jammed by many people. So we had to queue. Sometimes it would take so long for us to finish. Sometimes we were weighing, because all the coffee berries that you brought had to be weighed with their machine, and then it was being put into the machine to just peel off. So it was a continuous thing. So at the time that sometimes we'd get to the machine or to the place where we are weighing, it is past midnight. You can see this girl who left the house early in the morning before 7, and now she's still in the factory at night, sometimes after 1 a.m. And then we'd go home together with the other women that we were from the same farm or the same shamba, the same coffee plantation. We would go home, and of course we are happy that we have come with something to give my mom. My mom had a tin where she would put the money. And to encourage us and motivate us, what she used to do was to give us, so the bigger monies, like a shilling or something like that, she would put in a container, and the leftovers she would give us to buy bread. Those of my age, bread was 75 cents. Was not even a shilling. Yeah, so we would be very happy because she has given us something so that next time we want to do more, so that we can also get for buying sweets and buying bread, so that we can come and eat. Of course, we'll eat bread together in the home. So that became our way, another second way of getting money. The third one was, there was a time our neighboring place, our neighboring farm or shamba, if I may call it that way, they wanted to build or to construct a coffee factory so that people are not now going far. They are not traveling far with their luggages, with their coffee berries to go to the factory. So the people were concerned, in the village, they wanted to have a nearer coffee factory. And therefore, this coffee factory was being constructed neighboring our small half-acre land or shamba. So these people, the foodies that are constructing this place, they are from the neighboring, they are from the village. And when they come, they need to eat. They need to take something to drink. So my mom told me, as that small girl, especially on Saturdays, that I will be her clerical accounts clerk, and we'll start preparing githeri. For those that are Kikuyus, githeri. For those that are not, it is a mixture of beans and maize. And then we boil that one, we fry it, and then it's ready to be eaten by the people who are coming, who are the foodies now. Then the other item that we were preparing was porridge. We would ferment porridge in vibuyus, in jelly cans, and then several of them that is going to ferment different days, so that continuously we have porridge. We have porridge, fermented porridge for the foodies, and then we would make that porridge and then sell it to the foodies. The other thing that we were doing, we have githeri, we have porridge, and we have chapatis. I learned to do chapatis that long time ago. My mom showed me how to do it. I know some of us who are watching me, they will remember sometimes we were eating chapatis only at the end of the year in December. But for this one, she came up with that idea that we can be able to prepare chapatis and sell to the foodies. So we were having those, and some of them would also take tea. So we would have tea, porridge, githeri, and chapatis. And that time, it also gave us a lot of money compared, in our situation, we would get the money. So those are some of the ideas that she was having. But this money is not money that can pay school fees enough. The items that would need would still, like, akona deni kwa shule, bado anaendelea akitafuta, akipata, anaenda analipa. That time, my big brothers and sisters were not with us. They were away. They had already, some of them are working. But two of my brothers who are twins, they were having a business. They were selling tea. I think that it runs in our blood. They were selling tea, and then they were selling mandazis and toast. They were doing, bread. They were toasting bread with mayai, with eggs. So at a place in Nairobi called Majengo, Pumwani area. So that is where they had their hotel. So, but that was to sustain them and keep them. So the others were employed in other places, but there was not so much money trickling back to the village. But my mom is so enterprising, she was able to think about all these things. So even with the cooking, the chapatis, the porridge, and all that, she did not stop the other business of selling the fruits. She was still continuing to do that. Now, we went on like that. That time, it was not like the system that we are having right now. We are having CBC that has been introduced. We have just now completed doing the 844 with the exams that people have, the pupils have done this year. So we were having now to go to class 7 instead of class 8. That was the system that was there before. It was 7, 4, 2. Then we go to the university for 3 years, because there was the high school, or the A level, for those that qualified at Form 4. So it came to a point that we are in this situation. We don't have much money, but at least basic needs, we are having them. We are able to sustain ourselves. My mom is able to take care of us. And of course, at the end of the year, we'll have chapati, we'll have some other foods. That the maize was crushed, but not crushed to the extent of flour. It was crushed to some coarse pieces that we were calling them jenga. And when there is no rice, it is a substitute for rice. And that is what we used to take a lot. Then, of course, for those who know that, we'll do that jenga. It is fried together with potatoes and cabbage. And if there are carrots, then it is put there, then some tomatoes. And I'm telling you, it was good food. It was good food. That is what we could afford. Rice came later. Now, I've done class 7, and I've done very well. I've passed. And that time, we realized that there's some many, that exam, many people had passed, quite a lot. And then I realized that I had done very well, but not very, very well to go to a national school. But there was a school that was near us that was equally good. I don't know what that we could call it now these days. I don't know whether it's the county but it was doing very, very well. It's called Kagubiri Girls High School. It's still there. So many girls in my primary school were desiring either to go to Alliance or to go. If they didn't make to go to Alliance, they would go to Kagubiri Girls High School. And there I was part of those that were desiring to go to Kagubiri Girls High School. Yes, I've done well. So I was admitted. I was given an admission to go to Kagubiri Girls High School. Then, you remember my background, my Hamburg background. We don't have money to take me to secondary school. And we have completed with friends in class 7. And some of these friends, they are coming from families that are well-to-do. They have coffee, and coffee was really giving them a lot of money. And you see, for me, I'm from a poor family. So this one girl was not admitted into the school, Kagubiri Girls High School, but I was. For me, I am admitted, but I don't have money to take me there. Her, she is not admitted, but they have money to take her to school. So look at me now. So one evening, her mother came home to our place, and she talked to my mom. We are waiting to now go and join the following year, the Form 1, because we've already been admitted. I have already been admitted. And then she came to my mom, because we were known in the village that we are poor. So she came and asked my mom. She told my mom, if Jane is not going to go to Kagubiri Girls High School, please don't give that slot, that position, to anybody else. Give to my daughter. It was in the evening. We are at the kitchen, the house. Our house was, the way those houses were, the kitchen is also the sitting room. So we were there, and I cried. I cried. Because I'm telling myself, this person want to take advantage of my situation, that we are known in the village, we are poor. So instead of like getting a way that we can I can go to school. I can be facilitated to go to Form 1. She comes and says she would want me to be replaced by her daughter. And that was a trauma point. I cried. I cried. Then my mom told her, okay, I will not say anything at the moment, but I'll go to talk to her brothers and sisters in Nairobi. If they agree or if they are able to pay for her school fees in secondary, then it will be okay. If they are not able to, then I'll give you this slot. My viewer, it was really bad for me. I'm there, I'm crying. I'm like, my God, bring help for me so that I can go to Form 1. So that this embarrassment, this shame will not be there in our family. I can do better. And if I have passed, God provide a way. So after she left, my mom cried. And I was so hurt to see my mom crying because she was like hopeless, helpless, and here I am also crying because we are not able to do anything. We cannot help ourselves. We don't have money to take us to secondary school. So she went to Nairobi and she talked to these twin brothers. And one was married and the other one was not married. So one of them said, the one who was not married said that if Jane has passed her class 7, I'm going to educate her with my proceeds, whatever I get from this hotel. And it was not a big hotel, by the way. It's just love. Love and sacrifice. And one thing that she added on it that was really something that affected me so much was that she said since he was not married, he would wait before he gets married until I complete Form 4. That was sacrifice. He said he'll wait, he'll educate me. And it happened. I never was chased from school because of school fees. Every time I would either go to Nairobi to stay with my sister, and then at the end of the holiday, I would go to where they were staying and I would get the money. I would go with it to Nyeri, back to Nyeri from Nairobi, and I would give to my mom and she would pay school fees. I was never chased from school. But my point was the sacrifice that my brother Jimmy did. He was called Jimmy. And the fact that he said openly, that is what he told my mom, that he'll not get married until Jane completes school. So it was also pressure for me that you have to finish school. If somebody can delay getting a family, and here you are in, you don't honor that, it would have been a disaster for me. So it put pressure on me and I worked very hard. I worked very hard in secondary school, that in Form 4, I passed very well and I went now to A-levels in the Kenny Girls in Eastern region, and that time Eastern Province, and a very good school again. And again after that, I did very well. And I was admitted in the University of Nairobi, where I did my degree, my first degree. I've also done a second degree, as you can recall what I talked about, my master's in counseling. So that was a journey that I was walking with my mom from a poor background, somebody in between, because you remember, my father is not there to give this support. So in my mind, in my head, my father is my brother. In my mind, he is my father. To me, he is such a close person. and my connection with him became very tight. I loved him. Somebody who is sacrificing his life in terms of family and to educate me. It was really something that brought emotional connection. And I was like, anytime I would get money, I would remember if my mom did not come and my brother accept, then my slot would have been given to the other girl and I would not have continued with school. Probably I would have dropped at that point. So I completed and I was happy. So our connection with my brother Jimmy became so tight. And that was to affect me later in life, as we are going to see as we progress with this show. Then I completed school. When I completed Form 4, then Form 5 and 6, because he had said he would take me up to Form 4. Then my sister was also working, and she also said she would take it up because I was admitted in the high school, A level, to do my A level, my Form 5 and 6. My sister Grace said she would be able to pay for me, and she paid for me for the 2 years. But before I joined Form 5, there was still a mishap. There was a problem. And this problem was she did not have money to bring me to school, to take me to school for my Form 5. So I stayed at home for 1 month. The others joined school. And for me, I'm still at home waiting for her to get money so that I can continue with now my Form 5 and 6. But the idea came to her, and she told me I should go to school all the way, and nobody knew where Kenny Girls is. Nobody knew where that place is. I go to school. I take a matatu from Nairobi. I was staying with her. Take a matatu from Nairobi, go to Embu, and go asking where the school is. I go to the head teacher, the principal. I share my issue that I don't have money, but I'm admitted in the school. And imagine, it's not a parent doing that. It is me doing that. So I went, I was able to go. That idea came from my sister, and then I went to school. And actually, I slept in school that day. And the principal accepted my request. So I was even shown the dorm, that where I'll go, the dormitory where I'll be sleeping. And then I met some friends we were schooling with in my from 1 to 4 from my former school, my previous school, and then we continued. So I actually slept in the dorm. The following day, because I don't have money, I didn't go to class. So I just went home back to Nairobi and waited for my sister to be paid at the end of the month, and she was able to now to pay. That time it was being paid, kwa posta, telegram, something like that. I can't remember very well, but all the same, we were going on with my schooling. I did my Form 5 and Form 6, and as I said, I passed and I went to the university. I completed my college in 1990, June 1990, and that is around 31, that also some over 30 years ago. And so I got a job and I started working. And I remember we are still continuing with my relationship with my brother. He's still, I mean, even if he's not giving me money, still, the relationship is tight. We are still very good. So I continued. I got the job. I got married, and I got 2 children. Then, instead of him continuing working where he was working in the hotel, he decided to go to where he had bought a shamba. From Nyeri, he had bought some shamba when he was still working in the hotel, and he bought a shamba in Laikipia, a place called Ngarwa. So he had bought 3 acres. So he decided to take my mom from Nyeri, and he comes from Nairobi. Instead of now staying in Nairobi, he goes and starts a business in Laikipia, where his land is. So he constructed houses, 2 houses, one for him and one for my mom. Then he got married. So the family was staying in one of the houses, very nice houses, by the way, the ones that are called sections. You cement, and then you lift it some like 2 courses of stones, and then the other one is timber that comes in sections, and that's why it was being called sections, and very nice houses. So he did a kitchen and a big house. We were calling them big houses. Yeah, so at the big house. So, and then for the wife and the family. So he moved now from Nairobi and started a business because he was such enterprising, so such an entrepreneur. So he came home, and on his shamba, we helped him. That time I'm working. We helped him to start a portion mill, and he was this portion mill is to crush the maize into unga, and people were buying that. They were bringing the their maize to be crushed there to turn to unga. So a maize meal, if I say it in English, a maize meal. So that is what he was doing, and at the same time he had a shop. These retail shops that could sell all sorts of things and all that. So the portion meal or the maize meal was in our compound. So because even us now, that became our home. That is where we were going, when we are not in college. That is where we would go, and when we are not in school. Even my siblings who are also in boarding school. So that is where we were going, and we were calling it home. So he, at the same time, as I'm saying, at the same time, he was having a shop. This shop was running concurrently together with now the portion mill or the maize mill. This shop grew very, very well, and it expanded. Of course, business rivalries and all that was happening and all that, and there were some conflicts even in the community. Some bandits were coming, sometimes. So there was a bit of insecurity at that time, around 83, 84. So, but he still progressed with his business because remember, I said it's like it runs in the business, in the family, because as we were selling the fruits and picking the coffee berries, so he continued on like that. In 1996, one night in July 1996, one night, robbers came to his shop. That he was sometimes sleeping in the shop, and other times he would sleep at home. So this particular time he was sleeping, he was at the shop. So these people, whether they are bandits, whether they are business rivalries, we don't know. Even today, we don't know. So they came at night and actually killed him. They murdered him in cold blood. So that time I was staying in Kiambu, like I'm staying today. And I was in a Bible school, in a Bible college. And one morning I saw my mom. That time we didn't have mobile phones. I don't even know how she got this information. So she came to Kiambu. She was staying in Nairobi, so she came to Kiambu and because they all knew I was in the Bible school. She came to the Bible school and asked to see me. So I was called to the staff room. And when I saw her, I asked her, "Is it mom?" Because something told me, looking at her, her face looked very sad, very sad. This is the sister who also educated me. So again, we have this connection, this strong connection. So when I saw her, I asked her, "Is it mom?" She said, "No, it's Jimmy." So I asked, "What?" She said, "He was killed. He was murdered." he's dead. I screamed in that office. I shouted because my father, you remember? My father figure has died. My connection, the pain I got, I cried. Then, of course, I just went back to class, took my things, and went home. Shared with my husband what has happened. So the following day, we traveled home, and then I left my children with my younger sister in my house, and then we went and we now started preparing for the burial of my brother. As we went, my pain was deep because part of me, that's what I was feeling, part of me has died because the connection was so tight. That was another trauma point. Ile ingine ilikuwa ya shule, ile ingine ilikuwa my slot is being inatakikana, it's being taken away from me because of poverty, because of a situation. But this one, now it's the connection, my love, my person, my brother, my father, because he's not biological, but my father figure has died. And the death is sudden death. That is something else that we need to note as you're watching me, as you're listening to me, that different deaths have different impacts. One, the relationship with that person who has died. Secondly, how it happens. Is it a sudden death? Is it somebody who has been sick? Because sometimes when we know somebody has been sick, you are seeing them as they are progressing. You can tell today they are fine. Tomorrow you find they are not fine. But for a sudden death, for an accident, for like drowning, from dying by suicide, some like now murder, those are sudden deaths that have a big impact. I'm not saying the others don't have, but depending on the way the person died. So for me, it was the way he died, he was killed. Secondly, my part yangu moja imeenda na yeye. And we mourned him, and then we prepared for his death, for his burial, and we were all there, all the siblings, we were there, and we buried him. There's only one who was out of the country and was not able to come, our firstborn sister. So we buried my brother, but the day of the burial, another trauma point. And why am I sharing this? So that as you sit and you are watching me, you're saying, that is me. I never realized that was a trauma point. I'm sharing this so that we can seek help where necessary, because help is available. Therapy is available, and it helps. And that is what has really helped me a lot. So that day, the day of the burial, we went to the mortuary with a coffin, like the normal way, and we went home. He's in the coffin, and we go home. We are preparing. So there is the service that we were doing, and there are pastors, the villagers in that area. Everybody is there for the burial of Jimmy, who was murdered. So people had come from far and wide, and then he's being buried. At around 3, he was being buried. Something terrible happened. The coffin he was in cracked. And now it's like, it cracked in a way that it could, to my mind, it was like some contents would come out, or him would come out. So he was hurriedly buried. That's another very terrible thing for me. He was hurriedly lowered to the grave, and he was covered. He was buried. So there is the cracking of the coffin, and there was also the issue of like he's dead. He's part of me, he's gone. And now, instead of him being buried in a coffin that is whole and complete, it is cracking. I don't know whether it was the wood that was weak, or whether I can't tell. I can't tell what it is up to today. We've never known who killed him up to today. We've never known his killers, and that was 1996 July, and that messed me up. It messed me up, my life emotionally. We came back to Kiambu and continued with life, but my life was shattered. My person, my life, my father, my friend, my love is no more. So I kept replaying what I saw the day of the burial, the time we went to pick him in the mortuary, his death that we don't even know who has killed him, and a sudden death, and my relationship, who educated me, that connection. I contributed to the maize meal being there, bought him even a weighing scale for the shop. And it was like this person, it is replaying all the issues of the points where we have been good to each other, where he was taking me as that little girl, because he's our second born. So the distance between, the space between us is quite big. So I kept replaying, I am here, I'm back to work, but I'm having all this. At night, I couldn't sleep. I am seeing images, and it became very bad. I felt like I think I'm going to die also. So I don't know what just happened to me, but since I had friends in the Kiambu hospital, it was being called Kiambu District Hospital then, so I had a friend who was a nurse, one nurse, and one who was a clinic officer. So I asked them, I feel like I'm going to break. I don't know where that came from, but I was hearing, if you're going to get to be mad, you are seen by a psychiatrist. So that is what it was in the community. I don't know whether it still is there. So before people start seeing you collecting papers, it was a sign of being mad from the definition of people. It is good to see a psychiatrist. So I requested these two ladies to get me a psychiatrist, and sure enough, I was taken to one. But I was telling myself, I've heard people are given medicine and they become hooked to the medicine, depression, because I was telling myself, I was not even really thinking about this depression, but I was saying, I'm getting mad because I can't sleep, I can't eat well. For me, something else, when I am stressed, I'm not able to eat. When I am having issues, conflicts, stress, I'm not able to eat. So I was again very small. I became very small body-wise. Then I talked to the doctor, the one I was taken to, and I told him, Daktari, mimi nataka kuongea tu. I just want to talk. I don't want to be given medicine. He just smiled and said, okay, but if there will be need for me to give you to prescribe for you medication, I will do that. So I continued with my story. So my two friends have left, so I am with the doctor. So I continued, I shared my issues. After I finished, he told me, I'll still give you medication for 1 month, and then we can come for review. And that is the time I realized, kumbe hii kitu ilikuwa ngumu, ilikuwa deep. And looking back today, I think it was depression. I was getting into depression, and thank God I was able to ask for help early enough. So what I did, I went home, took the medication, and I went back for review, and I was okay. I wasn't given any more medication. But that still meant I needed to deal with those issues. I needed to deal with the issues that are in my life. Because, yes, the medication is given, but I'm still having some disturbances in my sleep, in my thought processes. I am not well, but at least I'm functional. I can be able to, to work. I can be able to continue being a mother and a wife. So, but I am not well. I'm not okay. So until that was 1996, the time now that my brother died. In 1998, where I work, I work in a place where I'm able to interact with people who have lost loved ones in terms of documentations from where I work. And one of the documentations that we issue is a death certificate. So this one day, a mother comes to my office, and it was about 1 o'clock, lunchtime. And then she's talking about, so she wants a birth certificate herself, but she wants to get a passport to go to a country where, that was Ivory Coast, to go to where the child, her daughter, had died. So she's looking at me as I'm talking to her. So I'm trying to do the work, and I'm asking her questions. I said, oh, you want to take a passport? She said, yes, I want to take a passport. Okay, to go and visit. Then she started crying. Then I asked her, what is it? She said, when you are talking, I'm seeing my daughter in you. And she told me, my daughter died in a plane crash. And I want to go. I want to take a passport. I go and just be there and get closure. I identified with the place. I identify with the place where my daughter died. That is where I want to go. And that is why I want this certificate so that I can get a passport. This time she's crying uncontrollably. She told me my daughter was educated. She was an air hostess. She was educated. She was light-colored like you are. She was the same size of your body like you. She started comparing. And you know, that time when she's talking like that, what is going on in my mind? My brother. It's going back. My loss. So I also started crying. She's crying and I'm crying. And she's wondering, is it because of the story? And this is what happens in unresolved issues like trauma, like loss of a loved one. We don't go to burial sometimes and cry because of the person who has died and is being buried. No. Most of the time, we may not even know the person, but we have gone to support probably the family. But during the burial, you find yourself, you are crying a lot. It is a time to reflect, evaluate yourself. What are some of the losses that you've gone through? Because it could be contributing to the loss it could be contributing to the way you are behaving right now. You are not so at the or you are even empathizing with them, or even you are sympathizing with them. For those that sympathize with the people, it is about you dealing with your losses. In fact, there are people who have told me when they go for a burial, they look at the children, for example. If it's one of the parents who have died, they start now crying because probably one of their parents died and they have not resolved that issue. So as we continue with these trauma points, I would like you to take a walk down memory lane and see, is there a trauma that you have not dealt with? Is there a loss? Is there an accident? Is there an incident that happened to your life and you have not dealt with it? It is still, when you get a situation, it is a trigger for you. When you get an environment that reminds you of what you went through, it just, triggers you to behave in a certain way. For me, when it is very funny, as I grew up and as I continued working and I started hearing that there are people who are getting bursaries, I was reminded of my situation. I was saying, where were bursaries at that time? Because my slot would not have been attacked the way it was attacked. So when I hear also of bursaries, it also takes me back. Well, I've worked through it. I've gone to therapy. I've dealt with it. But when I hear the word bursary, I say, this is a very good thing. Very good thing. There's somebody actually who told me another day that they were looking at bursary and seeing like they'll be seen by people like they are poor. And they decided not to go and ask for bursary, to apply for bursary. But for me, I was telling them, in fact, a bursary, it is something that really would help you or help your child to continue on. If you get it, mother, if you get it, dad, who is watching me, please do take it, because it will help that child to move. And some of those incidences and those pains and those bitterness, because I would see that lady, that family, and I would feel very bad, because we are still going to the same church in our village. And by the way, I forgot to say this. Later on, that lady also got a position in the same school. So we were educated together. But at least for me, I knew there is a scar. There is some wound in my heart. When I would see her, I would see these are the people who wanted to take my position. So the other time you hear about bursaries, for those that are negative about it, that people will see that you are not able, I would now say this, sharing my own story, it would have been a different story, because I would be more supported. So we are done. So I was saying those points. So I've taken the medication. I am okay. I am going on. But now that also told me or gave me an opportunity to also think about other people. Like when people go through these traumas, are they even aware that they need help? Are they even aware they are going through that? And you find that if the traumas are not dealt with, you find that there are people who even attempt to die by suicide. Because one, they don't have people to share with. Two, they don't have this awareness like what I'm sharing today. And some people get embarrassed to self-disclose. I am not inviting anybody to come and self-disclose here. For me, I'm self-disclosing because I've dealt with it. You cannot take people where you have not been. And you cannot pour from an empty cup. It has to be something that you have also dealt with. And as we say in psychology, it is very important that you're able to share what is inside you so that you can start the journey of healing. So my brother and me, a relationship that really brought a lot of pain because of the incidences and because of the love that we had. How did I know that I've not healed? A friend of mine, we were 4 friends who had done counseling, and we were helping people in the community, even in church. Even today, we still do that. But in 2018, we started a group of the 4 of us, and we started now helping other people, even with losses and all that. So one of us, the brother died. The brother was sick. It was not a sudden death like mine, but it was a death of a brother. Remember, mine was also a brother, but different circumstances. So we supported this friend of ours. We went to their home even as they were preparing for the burial, and the brother was buried. And mind you, we have not shared in this small circle about our losses in the past and how we have dealt with them. So this day, they have finished the burial and they have come back to Kiambu where we stay, all of us. And then we thought as friends to just take her out one day to a retreat center, to just be there, support her emotionally, and allow her to, space for her to share her pain and her loss. So we went there, we had carried food and drinks to take, and then we started sharing. That is, I think, 2018. Yeah. Then we are there and we are sharing one after the other. My time came to share about now my loss, because others were talking about my mom, they were talking about my dad, this one who had lost the mom and the dad, and the other one was talking about my uncle, my brother. And for me, when it was my turn, I started talking about my brother, Jimmy. As I talked, that was about 23 years past. And as I shared with them, I started crying. I cried. I broke down. I thought I had healed. I had gone for therapy. But this one time, I'm talking about the coffin that cracked. And that is what really broke me down. Today I can share with you without crying. I've talked about it many times. The other thing that I need to say is, it doesn't matter how many times you share. It is okay. It is okay. Don't feel limited. Share as many times as you can. Share with friends who can listen. Share with people who care. Share with people who love you, so that as you keep on sharing, you will still continue healing. Some people say time heals, but I would say, having been there, of course, after that, my dad died, and after that, last year, the second twin also died. So, but the effect was totally different. The mourning was totally different. So even as we continue, like I said, when we are on this earth, we continue having different trauma points. So people say time heals, but I would also say, in addition, the time, it is you to know what time and when that time happens that you are now healed. Because time ya mmoja si time ya mwingine. Because there are times that you'll go somewhere and remember, probably it's something that my brother loved to do, like he would love me to just take how you go to do your care, you're doing your toenails and all that, manicure, pedicure, you're doing it. Reminds, because those are some things that you'd not even think about, but when you're being done, and that is what you had done to that loved one, it brings the memories back. So that's why I said time does not really is not the clock time or the year's time. It's about time determined by that person who is going through all that. Now, before I come to close of this session today, I want to talk about something that is very, very familiar to many of us who have gone through trauma. Residues. You keep on finding that you still have some elements of the pain, but it is you to come out and seek for help. I mentioned here, I shared that I did counseling, and I started helping other people going through their losses. And actually in 2021, And even with the COVID 2020, 2021, in our church, I requested our bishop whether I could, with some other counselors, that we could start a class where we teach people, we take people through losses, issues of losses, how to handle losses, how to break bad news, and all that. And we did that for about 3 months, and we were able to equip people so that even when you're caring for others, you know when you need help, when you need care. And when we were doing that, people were also crying because they were dealing with their issues. And for me, how did I know at some point I'm not healed? Even when I was doing counseling, there was this man who was called Maina. And my brother was called Maina. So anybody who I interacted with and was called Maina, for me, I felt this is my brother. Are you seeing what is going on in my mind? That this is my brother. He was dark like my brother. So I looked at him. Okay, he was shorter than my brother. My brother was taller. And I'm like, this is my brother. So anybody who was called Maina, I would really get interested with them to an extent that people don't even understand. Why are you getting so close? You want to be so close. You want to talk to them. But it's a way that I was coping with my issues that I was going through. So this person, we finished the counseling course and we went on like that. So I'm going on with my life, but those are the residues I'm talking about. You realize that there are things that hit you on the way of your healing. So don't be judging to yourself. Don't be harsh to yourself. Don't bash yourself. Don't blame yourself. Deal with it as it comes. One crazy thing I did one time. I'm in Nairobi City. I am walking. Then ahead of me, I see this person. He looked exactly like my Jimmy Maina. I looked at him as we are coming to face one another. I said, this is like Jimmy. He resembled my Jimmy. He resembled my father. He resembled my love, now my brother. And you know what I did? You don't know. He's coming this way and I was going this way. So what I did, I turned. I followed him. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. I followed him. I followed him at a distance because I'm telling myself, that's my brother. He's not dead. And they're many, many years back. Many years back. But to me, I saw him. So a resemblance, that thing reminded me. So a residue. Something that... So after I walked a distance, him is not aware that he's being followed. But it is me who knows I'm following him. After going for a distance, and you know, Nairobi City, for those who have been in Nairobi, and those that are outside the country and you'd like to visit Kenya, sometimes you can have traffic, people traffic. There is a lot of people sometimes, let's say in the evening when people are coming from work or in the morning when they are going to report to work. So this time now there are people on the street. Then at some point I got a place, I stood. I just caught myself doing a crazy thing, following somebody I don't know, following a stranger. Because I'm telling myself, this is my brother. And I turned back. I went to where I was going. But when I went, in my mind, I'm telling myself, Jane, you're not healed. Jane, you're not healed. And that told me I needed more help. And I continued seeking help in terms of therapy. I didn't go back to hospital for any other medication because I now realized that therapy can help. My viewer, you are there. You are listening to me and you are saying, I see sometimes myself doing this and I don't understand myself. You don't have to understand yourself. But when you realize that you're doing something that is not the norm, you can seek help. You can talk to somebody. This is what is going on. Sometimes we find that, you see, like for him, he delayed to get married. So sometimes you may interact with other people who are not married, but you don't know their reason. And sometimes you keep on asking whether they are ladies or men. And you're telling them, umekaa sana, haujaoa, utaoa lini, utaolewa lini. Please be sensitive to them. You don't know what is going on. Because if my brother was being asked that time, for example, he wasn't asked. I don't think he wasn't asked. I don't know. He's never told me. But if somebody asked him when he would get married, you can imagine how painful it would be. Because he's saying, I'm sacrificing this one for my sister. Yes, he can share and say it positively, but some people may not take it positively. So I would say, when you see somebody probably is not married, whether a lady or a man, don't be quick to judge. You don't know their life. And if you are there, you have said you probably are not getting married for one reason or other. Sometimes it's because of the pain you've seen, let's say, in a family, or, something like that, and you need help. It is possible for us to have this journey lighter. How? By seeking help. Therapy is important. Lower those emotions by sharing. Psychological debriefing is more of a first aid for you, so that your emotions are stabilized. And then you can continue with therapies. And until next time, same place, same time, let us meet on the second one. The next time that we come together, remember to follow us on all our social media platforms. And if you would like to share your story, you can WhatsApp us on 0114 44 200, and we'll be able to invite you, as Anne did, and others that have requested us to share, that they would like to share, so that it can also help you and help other people. You can share our content on all your circles or all your networks, so that these people can get to hear what we are saying. And until next time, God bless you. Thank you so much. Stay healthy.